Hi YouTube, Josh here with the channel zzzgiantawake, and I'm coming to you today. Well, I guess I want to start with some important business, and so that goes like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Dev Shell, happy birthday to you. Uh, that's for my friend, online friend, and fellow YouTuber Dev Shell 2. He's awesome. His channel will be linked in the description. You should go tell him happy birthday for me if you would be so kind. So there were a couple of news stories that came across my purview that I think are worth discussing. The first one today from Fiscal Times, posted on MSN, is titled "Ex-Trump Insider: Donald Trump doesn't want to be president." This confirms something that I've been thinking, or that I thought at first at the beginning, and that's that Donald Trump did not run for president to become president. He ran because he wanted to raise his profile. Link will be in the description for both stories that I'm going to talk about. In an open letter to voters supporting Donald Trump, in the Republican presidential primary, the former communications director of Trump's now defunct super PAC said the former reality television star not only expected to be the Republican nominee, and not only never expected to be Republican nominee, much less the president, but he never even wanted to be. Weird, right? So he was running to raise his profile as a human being. Uh, Obviously, he succeeded. The article goes on to explain that the idea that what Trump was shooting for was to take a tight second place. But if that's what he wanted to do, he didn't do a very good job of it because he's solidly in first. Now, this does change up a couple of things, and that is that maybe he won't run as an independent if he doesn't get the nomination at a brokered convention. Maybe this is exactly the out that he wants, is it for it to go to a brokered convention, which is why he keeps ramping up the nonsense. But we'll have to see what happens. If he bows out quietly, that would kind of back that premise that he never really wanted to be president in the first place. But I don't think that's the most likely situation in this case, and we'll have to get to that in just a minute. And so, I've heard rumors that he might be a Hillary Clinton plant, which would start to make more sense with this news coming to light. She's given her name, so it's not like some random person who's hiding behind anonymity. Her name is Stephanie Kagaliski, and that's the person who used to help with the Make America Great Again super PAC. But the weird thing about this whole situation is that his next closest rival, which is Ted Cruz, might be running into some issues. So Donald Trump might end up becoming president whether we like it or not, or at least the Republican nominee, whether we like it or not. And this is a story coming off of a source that I've never used before, but they're just talking about, essentially it's an opinion. It's from Carbonated TV called, "Is there a Ted Cruz sex scandal on the horizon?" Apparently, yes. So the National Enquirer, which is somewhat not taken very seriously rag. You can find it on newsstands everywhere, so I guess it's taken seriously in how many sales it does, but it's very sensationalist and sometimes doesn't worry about getting the facts straight. Now, what makes this article particularly interesting is that the story has been confirmed by one of Trump's political consultants, Roger Stone, but it doesn't look like a hit job. Like, I don't think Roger Stone is confirming this as a hit job. If Donald Trump wanted there to be a hit job, he would have come out with his fist swinging, saying that of course Lion Cruz is of course involved in affairs. But Trump actually took a semi-classy stance. He wrote this on his official release about the Ted Cruz sex scandal. And what he wrote is, "I have no idea whether or not the The cover story about Ted Cruz in this week's issue of the National Enquirer is true or not, but I had absolutely nothing to do with it, did not know about it, and have not, as of yet, read it. Likewise, I have nothing to do with the National Enquirer, and unlike Lion Ted Cruz, I do not surround myself with political hacks and henchmen and then pretend total innocence. Ted Cruz's problem with the National Enquirer is his and his alone. And while they are right about O.J. Simpson, John Edwards, and many others, I certainly hope they are not right about Lion Ted Cruz. I look forward to spending the week in Wisconsin winning the Republican nomination and ultimately the presidency in order to make America great again, Donald J. Trump. So, what makes this weird? Something that you learn in law, and I've learned in law classes, libel and slander. Ted Cruz, in this article, they released 3 of the names. The National Enquirer did. Those 3 names, women. Yes, 3 of Cruz's alleged mistresses have been identified: Katrina Pearson, Sarah Isgur Flores, and Amanda Carpenter. Ted Cruz is kind of open game because he's a public figure, so it'd be hard for him to take time out of his campaign and to sue the National Enquirer. Now, any of these 3 women would have more than the right to sue the National Enquirer if this is libel or slander. But in order for it to be libel or slander, it can't be true. These women would make a good chunk of change in a settlement. We're talking about $50,000 to $500,000 each, if they were able to prove beyond a preponderance of the evidence that this is libel. But it has to be beyond the preponderance of evidence. Why would there be more than a preponderance of evidence that Ted Cruz has slept with these women? That's where it gets really bad. And now there are investigators looking into this, and these are independent investigators. The government doesn't give a shit about who sleeps with who. That's just not what the government does. But as far as scandals go, the only scandal, I guess, the scandal above a FOIA investigation, like with what Hillary Clinton's dealing with, is a sex scandal. I guess the only one above that would be a criminal scandal, because those things are interesting. But sex scandals are pretty high up there, a lot more interesting than some boring shit about bureaucracy and shit like that, and whether Hillary Clinton did what was right. So let's go back to the ex-Trump news story, back to the Fiscal Times, and just to end it. This is Miss Seguliski. Sorry, I'm probably destroying that. And I'm got a strange Polish last name, so I feel bad, but oh well. So here's the last couple of paragraphs. I think this kind of this kind of wraps it up. And here's from the article, and then I'll read a statement from her. But as time went on, she said, she came to realize that Trump's entry into race had always been about raising his own profile, not about actually winning the presidential nomination. Trump never intended to be the candidate, she said, but his pride is too out of control to stop him now. And the last line. In the end, she said, she decided that Trump was not an authentic voice for the disaffected Americans alienated from Washington and behind the global economy. Speaking to current Trump supporters, she wrote, he's not that voice. He's not your voice. He is only Trump's voice. True words. So now we have a runaway Trump, a Cruz who might end up getting absolutely destroyed by scandal. Good luck, Republicans. I hope you enjoy the monster electorate that you've created and the politician who apparently best reflects your values.